you look at the mind, it's an incredible, beautiful tool. It's a beautiful tool because through understanding things and analyzing, and when you analyze something, you kind of, you put it back into little building blocks. It's built like this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And you can use these building blocks kind of to build a new idea, something new. So our mind, in this, is also reflecting in what we build as human beings, as a human race, on this planet already. All the inventions which are there, all the possibilities which are there. To understand something, for most of us who kind of are using our minds, is something which is quite aesthetic. When you think about something and then at once, there is an understanding coming forward. This is quite aesthetic. So part of what we're doing in these courses is to help ourselves to really free the mind, to use it to its full potential. And then arises the question, what is the full potential of the mind, the human mind? And the only answer I can give, in all honesty, is I don't know. But it's awesome. It's awesome what we're able to come to understand. It's awesome what we can build from the creative side of the mind. So when we talk about mind, and more from a spiritual angle, a spiritual angle, when we talk about mind, then I don't only am referring to our thoughts. Part of the whole mental structure are our feelings. And feelings and thoughts in many ways look like each other. As we are able to create structures through thought, we are also able to create structures through feelings. We can create a certain atmosphere. And so often we are creative with our feelings. There's a certain atmosphere, so we change the subject to talk about, or we make a little change inside ourselves. Other feelings are coming forward and it changes the whole atmosphere. We are creating atmospheres also connected with feeling, with so much connected with the heart and the feeling connection with what we have, atmospheres in our gardens. If you really feel attached to nature, or if you really feel love to nature, which is something else, and you start to work with plants, and by kind of putting certain groups of plants together, which all have their own atmosphere, We create new atmospheres. Be creative in nature. We make music, which, if you listen to music or allow music to penetrate to a point where you experience music, directly through music, through poetry, through books, create experiences through movies. When we go to a movie, we experience the movie. When we go to theater, we experience theater. We are creative with feelings and emotions. So when we talk about freeing the mind, it's not only relating to free your ability to use the mind on the level of thought, but it's also connected with freeing the whole area where we kind of are able to experience. To the depth. And have the freedom to play with our experience. To share it with others. Partly through words and partly through in other ways. So when we talk about freeing the mind, what is limiting?
What is limiting?
What's limiting our freedom of using our mind?
Beliefs.
Yeah.
What?
What Dana brought forward is beliefs.
Oh, beliefs.
Beliefs can be limiting. So, and at the other side, beliefs are really, really, really important. You cannot force also a person to change his or her beliefs. They're personal. They are partly a reflection of the experience we went through in life, of our background, how we were brought up. So the question again is, if beliefs can be a restriction for mind, in what way are they a restriction, and what's exactly happening with our beliefs? What are we doing with our beliefs? What are beliefs? How do they work? So the first and most important thing about beliefs, these are things, basically, we think they're true. This is how reality is built. Most beliefs have a connection with reality, how we perceive reality. And they're based on this, and this helps us, if we have certain beliefs, to structure reality as well. To give structure to ourselves, to the person we are, or we think we are. This is a question. To give structure to our lives, to how we communicate, how we relate to other people. To give structure to our thoughts, and to give structure to our feelings. When we are in a crisis with our beliefs, or you would take away the beliefs of a person, it's almost impossible to give form for this person anymore. Also when you're in a crisis in your beliefs, which is very healthy. all wish you a lot of crises in your beliefs on a regular basis. Why is it so healthy? It's so healthy because if there's a crisis, we're able to make a change. Our beliefs don't get too rigid. So again, what we believe, we think is the reality. This is how it is, and a crisis opens us up to other possibilities. The ability to see things from a lot of different angles. It could be like this and it could be like this. This is also the refinement of our beliefs. So if our beliefs are helping us to give form to our lives, to give form to our expression, the way we express, to give form to the person, which is part of how we present ourselves in our lives, part of the giving form to life. Then it's important to understand that these beliefs we have also give form to the impressions we get in life.
Our beliefs give form to our impressions? Is that what you're saying?
To the impressions we get from life. So, when I'm talking, you all hear the vibration of my voice, the words I try to bring forward. And according to your beliefs, some words will jump out. You will take, this is really important to me. And according to your process, which is based on partly your beliefs. So when we later on would kind of, and we will not do this, but would share kind of what we had been written down, it will be different for each person because you derive from it what's exactly relevant for you, personal, now.
Sorry, I'm just kind of a bit paranoid.
Yeah.
She's paranoid sitting there, but she's not.
So when you look into what's important for you personal now, this is colored. This is subjective. How we use our mind is colored, is subjective.
Colored?
Colored. It's subjective. It's colored by the work we have. It's colored by our past. It's colored by the way we developed ourselves to think. A doctor would look totally different to this happening as a psychologist. And the mathematician looks different to it again. A social worker would look different again. There's like a different framework where we place impressions in. And what you think, what you understand, what you get out of, whatever plays out, how you experience it, how you feel it, to what experience you're opening yourself. You could sit here in a way, you know, that I experience, I feel that you are all nice people. But I could sit here also in a way that I would experience where all of you have hooks And where there is a little bit of danger in socially connect with you. We all have hooks. I could also experience you, all of you in a way that I look, okay, who could be a threat? I could experience you in a way to see, okay, you know, what's the promise everybody is containing. All of this is connected to how we use our perception. And how we use our perception, what we experience, is so much connected with beliefs. When we go in meditation later on, so often what we do is that we go and then we open ourselves, we do the exercise, and then the first thing which is already interfering, and that's the mind a little bit interfering with our feelings, is that we already decide from our mind, basically, how the exercise should go. It should be perfect. We go from A to B, we do this, it should be perfect. And then at once something is happening. And an experience is coming forward which is not kind of decided by the mind. We have a shift. Exercises and meditations are built like this to make this shift, that experience starts to move by itself. And then an experience starts to move, and we see this beautiful lake in front of ourselves, we feel the atmosphere, and a Buddha is rising up from the water. And we feel fucked, because it shouldn't be a Buddha, it should be Moses. So we changed the Buddha in Moses. I'm giving an example, but this is how we interfere from the mind already. But the whole language of the experience which is coming forward, again, is also according to what we allow, to our beliefs. It's formed by it. It's not what we are. But still, it's a form. It's a form we create at that moment out of everything what is possible. And even if we don't create it, what I try to explain is how we integrate it inside ourselves, how we recognize it. An experience is connected with memory. So the first thing which has an influence on the working of our mind is beliefs. This is basically giving direction. Where do we focus on? What is important? What's not important? How do we give structure to this overwhelming reality which is life? And part of that maybe, or the second part which is kind of interesting to look at, is memory. We try to place every impression we have into memory. This is also how we communicate. I tell a story to Gina, and Gina says to me, I understand you. When I was 12, I had this experience, and that and that and that. So this happens also to me, and so I understand you. So does Gina really understand me? Or does she put my experience in the framework of her memory, which is a look-alike, if we are lucky, and kind of say, okay, that's it. Done it. Seen it. PepsiCo. So often in life what we do is experiences, feelings, we place in this framework of memory. Which is important, because this framework of memory, again, makes it personal. It helps us to personalize the experience, to give a personal form to the experience, to our thoughts. And in this, We often look for affirmation in everything what's happening around ourselves for the state, the personal state we are in at that moment. So if you walk through Amsterdam and you look around and you kind of, went out of bed and you're staying in a hotel and you went into the lobby and the guy in the lobby was rude towards you and that hurt you. And on this, basically, you think, okay, Holland is quite, the Dutch people are quite rude people. So, when you walk around in Amsterdam, you will see, experience the rudeness in people to prove your point. And there will be more as enough. So basically what we're doing is often looking for affirmation of the state we're in. We feel rejected, the world is rejecting us, so we will focus on rejection. We will experience rejection. We feel a stranger. So we will look for affirmation in the world around us of this feeling.
Now, are you saying that this is, sort of always how it is, or because it doesn't necessarily always feel like that?
No, but like when you buy a car, if you bought a certain car, like a Mitsubishi, all the cars around that you see are Mitsubishis all of a sudden.
If you're pregnant, you see only pregnant women.
Right.
Is it always like this?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but
Yes. To a very refined level, it's always like this. If we look for a genuine experience, there are genuine experiences, but the way we place them, the moment we place this experience, we integrate it into our physical reality, we do the trick. We can only place them by the building stones we already have on the background, the history we have. So in a moment we can experience something maybe without a lot of interference of our mind, a lot of interference of our memory. When we really still, it can come in much deeper. We can kind of much less interfere actively with the experience. But the moment we place the experience, the moment it becomes part of our life, we use the same building stones. This is how we're built. And it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter as long as you don't identify with this experience as being you.
And also if you do, so the minute you experience it, you already build another structure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the less you identify, the more free, you know it will fall into a structure. Because that's tools, It will fall in a structure when you sit on the stove, it will fall in the structure, although it's an amazing experience by itself. The experience is amazing, but it will fall in the structure, danger, pain, don't do this again, and don't try this at home. You understand what I bring forward? It will fall in the structure, otherwise you wouldn't kind of move forward. But it's not that you are the experience. What's happening is that we get more freedom in our thoughts and our experience because we get less hooked. We less hold on to a certain experience which is unbearable. The more we have a difficulty to contain the rudeness of another person, so the more, exactly what you say, we can leave it with the other person. It's not saying something about me that this person is rude. Probably the person has a bad mood. So the more we can kind of, unhook or contain the rejection which we feel with it, the more free we are able to move. The less we are influenced. We are kind of stay in a state of perception. But it doesn't mean that in all this movement, between this person is rude, this person is friendly, this person really loves me, this person doesn't like me at all. I'm just kind of making it like this, all this movement, if there is a movement, even if you say, I don't mind what people think of me, they're just people. This is a movement into more freedom because we unhook more and more and more. It doesn't mean that we don't care. That's something different. So often we try to move into this freedom by unhooking, by stopping caring. If you don't care, you are more free. But even if you care and you unhook more and more and more, there's more freedom to use mind, it's important to take notice that still mind is mind. It works through beliefs and memory. You are able to more freely use the mind. And so often when we are more able to more freely use the mind, we say, okay, I've got this impression, I'm not hooked, she's giving me this impression, so this is the truth. This is reality. I woke up, I had an awakening. I'm more free, and now I see how the world is really built.
There's one more. Right there.
It comes down to beliefs. That's where we started. It's the attitude we have towards our own beliefs. So if I have a belief, does that mean it's the truth? And but if all of my beliefs are just beliefs, meaning I don't really believe in any of my beliefs, they're just happening, then there's much more freedom. This means that if because you're buying a Mitsubishi, and I totally recognize this, and the whole of Israel is suddenly full of Mitsubishis, you're totally aware that it's your belief and it's your perception which is filling the whole of Israel with Mitsubishis. You're not going to go into World War III about it to say, no, people are really buying a lot of Mitsubishis, they're all over the place. Or there's a lot of pregnant women around. It's our attachment to beliefs itself. Our attitude to them, that if I have a belief, it says who I am, and it's absolute.
Yeah, and it's also a whole story. It's basically also a whole story. So, is it a comfort that there are so many Mitsubishis in Israel? Because it gives you the feeling it's a good car, everybody buys it. Is it a comfort because you're not special? You're just among the people. So you don't have a car which kind of jumps out. This could be comfortable. It could be also incredibly annoying. Because you want this special car. And everybody's got it. So these are all stories which are part connected to the person. This is connected with memory, how we are built, with our beliefs.
But if we untangle our beliefs a little bit to become less motivated because we're sort of distracted a little more, we're less focused on the truth of where I'm going. If I believe that I have to achieve something and I'm really strong, that gives me force.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm, everything, this is good, and this is good, and this is good, I might get a little dispersed.
Crazy.
What would you say?
This is an extremely, extremely, extremely important question, because in this there's a whole formula. Yeah. If I don't really believe in my feelings and feel my feelings to the end, are my feelings worthwhile? If I don't really believe it to the end of my beliefs, do I lose my willpower and my motivation? This is really a way that we keep ourselves small. Because and you need to check it yourselves, but what actually happens is if a thought, for example, is just a thought, the thought is much more free. It births many more thoughts. If the thought or the belief is so precious that we hold on to it, then it doesn't lead anywhere. It becomes a confrontation all over the place. It becomes something that has to be defended. We're talking about beliefs. How can you invest willpower in a belief if you think the belief defines who you are? You're not free. What are you investing? Who's investing? You have a belief that there should be equality for women. But you believe it's so strong that all the time you're defending, fighting, 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 fighting. You say, this is my belief, I stand for this. I'm standing for this. I am standing for this. You have all the freedom then to get the overview, to put the energy in, to release and disentangle when necessary, to learn, to understand. Because it's just a belief. It's a belief which is there right now. It's a belief that you stand for. It's a freedom of choice.
But it is also like grounding in a way, to attach yourself to some beliefs. You know, maybe there are beliefs that have more freedom in it, but to be really not attached to my feelings or my beliefs, like bumping into trees and, you know.
So there's another belief that if I don't have these beliefs, I'm bumping into trees. It's not grounding. If I understood it right. So if I have a belief that my beliefs are what ground me, then that's just another belief about what it is that grounds me.
Sometimes I have a feeling like some belief is like broken. Like something happened and something changed. And for sure, I know that the same day and the day after, I'm like, I don't know where I am and I'm driving the wrong
that's
side.
the crisis.
Like everything, yes. And I need it back. I mean, give me some ground to cope with this world and everything. So
yeah.
I need the attachment to something that is me.
Yeah.
Did you ever try
To
not attach, but to go back in the other direction, to see what's there when everything's kind of floating?
That's what she says, it feels like
That
crisis.
she needs the attachment to something.
Like no orientation, right? Like nothing to behold in.
Right.
yeah,
So she's asking her if she's ever
What's on the other side?
if I just
Go deeper in.
non-attachment.
Stay in the
maybe it's
disorientation.
easy if I'm here in this room, but if I have to go and take children to the gun and back and
Because what you're describing in a way is a kind of the whole dynamic of addiction, and I don't mean addiction in terms of, in terms
like
of
a
alcohol.
habit.
It's like to fill up the body
Addiction,
with
addiction to
something else.
stuff, addiction to attachment, addiction to identifying, addiction to beliefs. You know, an alcoholic partly will go back into, or we'll go back to turning on the TV, or back into our patterns and all of this, because there's a kind of something behind that which feels so kind of empty or kind of boring or not pleasant that we don't want to go there. So we kind of get thrown out of what is actually behind our beliefs. Back into, okay, let's make something worthwhile. I really believe in pink dresses. You know, I really must have one, because this is kind of somehow less painful than what's behind.
But it's like definition of yourself. I mean, it wasn't a good sentence.
שים mushrooms there.
So basically,
ישר נכנס בחזרה למקום הזה, כן.
I'm sorry that's the way it is. I'm not saying if it's good or wrong, but
yeah.
I mean, me, this is my profession, that's what I wear, that's what I live, that's my hobby, that's... I sort of relate to something. For example, when I made the change from high-tech to my new profession, it was for about a year that I felt that I have no idea who am I. Also because of the feedback of the people that knew me.
Yeah.
There were all sorts of reactions, like I'm jealous that you can do it, it's great, and the opposite, that you're totally crazy. I mean, you have a great style of life, you earn good money, you have a safe place, safe house, everything is so nice, why are you destroying everything?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know, and I don't know who am I, but it feels good.
This is very beautiful what you bring forward. But when you look into it, you know, and the same that you bring forward. So the person, and especially when we move through a crisis, There's a change in the person. It's a change in who you are, or who you think you are. There's a change in the structure of daily life. There's a change in your life. And so basically what we think is, you know, how we give form to our lives, this is what we are. And when a change is occurring to it, it's like, it's a difficulty is there to identify with the person, with the structure we have in our lives. So we don't know who we are anymore, because something is changing. So that gives us the tendency to make this person as rigid as possible. Because if it's always the same, it's something to hold on to. But then in reality, when we look to this person, when we look to how our mind is working, how our feelings is working, what is personal in it, you know, and I try to explain how it's working, this person is not stable at all. It's changing all the time. It's not a stability to hold on to. The moment becomes too stable, we feel absolutely bored and imprisoned and not free. So what Georgina said, have you ever tried to kind of, you know, to go into the other direction instead of kind of holding on to the person because I'm losing the person? Who am I? It's a good question, who am I? So by moving more deeply in, it could be possible when we kind of let go of the person a little bit and moving more deeply inside ourselves, that we would find something inside ourselves which is more stable, which makes the person relative. It's just a form which is given in that moment. But there is maybe something inside ourselves which is much more stable. Maybe so stable that it's always there. And the person is just a tool, like a hammer. It's how you use a hammer. You know, a hammer is a tool, and you can say, I am the hammer. I am the experience I have. I'm the person.
Meaning the personality? Like when...
The personality, the whole I, the I where you refer to. What is an I? When you say an I, it's mental. It's a mental structure. An animal's not saying I. Maybe doesn't have the language.
I don't
There is not this self, that's, you say it very beautiful, Maital. It's not the self-consciousness. The consciousness of the self, of the I. I is built in consciousness. It's also how the mind is working basically. The mind basically kind of, you know, is always, at least in our thoughts, is working through polarity. Me and you. Either or. This is how we analyze. It's either good or bad. It's black and white. It's 0 and 1, like a computer. Binary. And we can create the possibility to look at things from many, many different sides. But still it's binary. Experience is much more we. It's much more connected with togetherness, and this is possible, and this is possible. Or the whole area of awareness. But still it's togetherness. It's still a form. There's still a subtle polarity in it. So when we look at, when we move inward, where you would end up, so it's worthwhile to look at areas which go beyond polarity. The person is, the I is always in polarity with his environment. You understand what I'm talking about? Yes. I think I am. It's of giving form. And it's incredibly precious and incredibly important. But is this objective? So if Maital's I was objective, that means that we are all crazy. Because that means how she is receiving reality would be the only way, the only right way.
I feel like it's a fear of death in a way when you transform from one state of mind to another one, or from one. So for a moment, it's like you have nothing, and nothing to hold on to, no motivation, because it also brings motivation to, but it's not. It's what belongs to the persona. If the persona sees that it's nothing to be claimed to, it feels like a fear of death. To be gone, not to be here anymore, to leave your mark. It feels for me like jumping on the trampoline, you know, when you lift it and you're in the air and you have no idea what's going on in a minute.
There's a very, very key belief, which is a belief of the mind, which is that it's either or, which is what Bart just brought in. It is or this or this. So in these questions about motivation and feeling left without the person, left without form, what's come forward immediately, what the mind is throwing forward, what our minds is throwing forward, is the either or. This is the place where we're trapped. Or you're formless completely, or you're a person and you're fully identified with that person, and you're Jewish and you're Israeli and you're going to kill anybody who says otherwise. You understand? That's why it leads to the identification. Identify. Until life breaks down forms, and then it's, oh, find me another one. Get me another. I won't say it. So we need to be really, really careful, because the mind loves to dominate everything. And its trick always, in 1,000 different ways, is to come with this either or. Or I'm a Buddha, or I'm a whore. Or I'm a really kind person, or I'm really, really, really nasty. You can't be both. Or I'm a person, absolutely a person with a name and an ID card, the whole works. Or I'm a nobody. It's either or. And we know we can't be a nobody with misread opinion. It's not allowed, it's always going to be both. It's the most rational thing in the world, but the mind is so primitive in making these divisions. Now we're meditating, and wonderful things are going to happen, and now we're eating lunch and nothing's going to happen, nothing special at all, boring. It's constantly dividing into two, and it's doing it in a way to keep control, and the control it wants is based on an agenda, a polarized agenda, which is to get away from pain and to get pleasure.
Away from pain and...
To avoid suffering, survival, avoid pain, and to get something which is yummy.
Based on, you said it's to keep control based on...
The polarity of pleasure and pain. The agenda of getting more of the pleasure and less of the pain. In the belief that if it was all the time all pleasure, that it would be good. But actually pleasure is in polarity with pain. It's a function of pain. It's a sliding scale. You just have to be really, really, really cold for 6 hours then you really enjoy heat. But if you're in a lukewarm heat the whole time, you're hardly alive. It's relative to itself. It's a loop. So the real question is, together with the person, together with the form, together with the beliefs, are we able to allow also the one that doesn't, the depth of ourselves, which doesn't actually exist inside these dances, these games of porn. And sometimes what's there, between the person, like the person that has their regular life and form, and this one, which has always been there since you were a child, and will always be there, this one at the core of himself, there are layers. And a lot of these layers, this is why we go shopping, why we watch TV, why we reach for the bottle. A lot of these layers, some of these layers are not pleasurable. Not pleasurable. Boredom, for example, just boredom. There's nothing there. Pure boredom. This is a layer. This is a layer that drives a lot of people out. Okay, let me watch a movie. Okay, my phone. Okay, this. Okay, that. Let me attach to something. Let me have a fight with somebody. Get some meaning. Get some purpose.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the awareness that that is part of what is happening. That is, there's nothing
If this
wrong.
one is, if we were able to allow the boredom and move, be more consolidated in the one which isn't changing, but that actually that never needs a person, isn't remotely interested in the person, the identity, then there's less need to play out in kind of series of actions and reactions in a way that we're totally out of control.
Right, but there's a difference between playing out something in a series of actions and reactions and out of control, and making choices about, now I would really like to shop, now I would like to have a movie, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about a level of awareness, as well as consolidation.
Yeah. Places to sit inside ourselves and strengthening the places which are beyond the regular polarities of the mind. Actually, the more you go into this, into the places beyond polarity, the less attraction there is for watching a movie or shopping. It's just not that interesting anymore.
Shopping is.
Ooh.
Movies are
Maybe the shop opens up.
With all due respect to the spirituality, let's have some priorities here, okay? Chocolate, movie, shopping is all good.
Right.
Yeah. And we can consolidate later into that one that's never changing.
But after the shopping.
After the shopping.
After the pleasure, the pain. The bad statement we don't want.
There's no fun in shopping without guilt afterwards.
Oh, no.
There's no fun in shopping when you don't have any money and you're going to get a bill at the end of the month.
Of course, there is no fun in shopping.
But the either-or trick is really the critical. It's the key word, the keynote, this formula of the either-or, and this kind of belief that there is nothing outside of that.
So this level, this
Inside
place,
of that.
this place of this reaching of like, this is it. This moment you spoke about it, and it's because other clients of mine are speaking about it right now. This place, the boredom, you can call it boredom or something, but you said that phrase. You said like, okay, so it's just this. There's nothing. It's just this. So when somebody is reaching that place right there, right,
Keep going.
keep going.
And look at it also from the inside out.
But
Boredom is great. It's really kind of, there's a whole field of boredom, and there is something on the other side.
Georgi knows this now. Have you reached that other side, have you?
But how do we know what is a belief and what is not? And how can I know? Like, I think that maybe that I believe that I enjoy here in this course is just a belief, and I can live without, and it doesn't give me anything, or it does give me what I feel that it does. Or maybe it's sort of belief that I have to be more spirituality. And how do I know if I choose something or feel something because of belief, or because that's the reality?
You don't. What we try to bring forward is that's the reality doesn't count. That's the reality for you right now. So it could be that, you know, in a couple of months or maybe tomorrow you feel, okay, you know, this is all bullshit. And then that's the reality. And you're totally free to feel that.
But you said that to free the mind, we sort of need to have less beliefs.
No, just don't
No.
believe in your beliefs.
We need
You have as many beliefs as you want.
more beliefs.
Conflicting beliefs.
Yeah, but it's not that we are not hooked to beliefs. We are
Yeah.
more free, no?
Yeah, if we are not
To have
hooked,
beliefs.
yeah, to have beliefs. Because beliefs are so important. That's how I started to talk. to give structure to ourselves, to give structure to our lives. And you know, and these beliefs are also coming forward by experiencing a thing a few times and then say, okay, this is how it works, this is a belief. You know, if you treat people with kindness, kindness is coming back. And you live in a kinder world. This is a belief. But after you tried it a few times, it becomes a belief because you see it works. It's much more relaxing for me and much more comfortable for me right now to treat people with kindness. Doesn't mean that this is the only way. Doesn't mean that I'm a kind person. It's an attitude based on a belief, and in this you structure your life. So I'm sure if the whole world tried to treat each other with kindness, it would be a much more easy world for all of us to live in. Doesn't mean that something would change or whatever, but that's a belief. You understand? Is this reality? Is this the truth? This is the interesting thing, because, you know, kindness is a beautiful thing as an example. If we treat each other with kindness, we create a reality which is more kind.
So our belief affects other people.
It affects reality around ourselves. As we are affected through our beliefs by the reality around ourselves. You understand? So it's a tool, but is it the reality? Is it what we are? Is this really the deepest truth? Is this the person I am? That's something else. So to free the mind means that you kind of see, I'm not the hammer. So how do I use the hammer in the best way?